Welcome to Profiles in Rock. Doug Pringle's guests this week are Ann and Nancy Wilson, the soul of one of the world's most exciting rock bands, Heart.
When I went into this being famous thing, trying to get famous thing, I didn't go into it for the money.
The Wilson sisters have become the most celebrated female rock stars since Janis Joplin. Profiles in Rock first pays an early morning visit to Nancy Wilson at her Seattle country home.
Sorry we're a bit... Whoops, I've let all the dogs out.
That's all right. Good morning.
Yes, it is a good morning. Got you up, I think.
Well, that's all right. I'm kind of, rock and roll morning for me. It's not morning for you, but...
Are we going to call the dog in or leave him out there?
Kimo! Okay.
Great. You travelled all around, didn't you, when you were kids, the three of you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was your dad? Was he in the Army or something?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
He retired as a major with honors, and he fought 3 wars. But we did travel a lot. We lived in Taiwan for about 2.5 years when I was about 2 to 4 years old. And I have some great memories, When I first learned how to speak, it was pidgin English, pidgin Taiwanese.
What did you want to grow up to be?
Well, I wanted to be as much like the Beatles as possible because they were my, big influence. I think this is what I wanted to grow up to be. It's what I am being right now.
Really? Even when you were young, you thought of being a rock star?
Well, just about. Before I was into the Beatles, I was into horses. And I started playing guitar when I was about 9 years old. And so I learned every Beatles song there is to play.
What was the first song you ever remember on the radio?
On the radio?
Yeah.
It was Que Sera, Sera.
So how come you didn't want to grow up to be Doris Day?
Because that's when I was about 3 years old in Taiwan, before I even knew who Doris Day was. But actually, before that, it was even the alphabet song.
Oh, really?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, la, da, la, da, la, da, da. But anyway.
What kind of relationship did you have with Anne when you were children?
A really great friendship. We've always had a great friendship. We've always been best of friends. I think because of the music, we never had too much sibling rivalry, as it were. Just since we had music. Who's that? Blue! Come on, come on. So, anyway, we've always been the closest. We've really helped each other through these years of touring a lot. Without each other, I don't know how we could have stayed sane.
Yeah.
Sane, alive, and all the rest. It's been great having each other as friends. At the family, shoulder to person to talk to, shoulder to cry.
Someone to lean on,
Someone to lean on.
A little strength.
Exactly.
Do you find your relationship with Anne changing a lot all the time?
Yeah, it is changing. I find the roles sometimes reversed, where I turn into her mother. I have to take care of her. It used to be that the older you get, the less age difference matters. Yeah, they used to have free concerts here.
Back, when was this, in the late 60s or early 70s?
Yeah, during the 60s. I think they stopped in the early 70s because the people around the area, this is actually one of the nicer areas of the city, and the people were being bothered by the noise and everything else. But they would pack the field, and just like it was like mini Woodstock. And also, when I was at art college at Cornish, I used to come here alone and just sit and draw. And I still bring my dog here quite often. I live really close. And I bring her here a lot. And,
do you ever get that feeling? Do you ever feel in some way that similar way that you did that?
Yeah, I suppose that's why I still come back. It's just got some kind of magic for me.
Yeah, I know.
Like all the little areas back in here, you know. It's
Especially this tree.
yeah, this old tree I half love and I half hate, and I'll tell you why now.
Why is that, Andrew? Won't you?
It's because when I was at art college, once I came down here by myself and I sat about 10 yards from here on the ground and I took
On that spot.
to make a rendering of this tree which does it justice. And I sat there for 5 hours, and I'm not exaggerating. And I finally got so frustrated. It was the principle of the thing. After a while, it was, come on, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it was the principle, you know. This tree,
It must be
because
this
it's so
one.
beautiful. It's so old.
Yeah, it is
And I never
great.
got it, you know.
Never got it, ever?
Never got what I thought was a good enough rendering. There's something about the tree.
Do you have any great mind-expanding experiences in this path?
What mean? Drugs?
Drugs? Me?
What? Of course!
Did you ever think about heart?
I have never stood
Going
on
back
this
to the
stage.
roots? You've never stood on this?
This is the first time I've... This is the first time I've stood on
Have you ever thought about Heart doing a free concert? You know, that would be quite a
No,
full circle. Maybe now.
Don't take the brown acid!
That's about what it was in those days.
Yeah.
Right over there, that's the reservoir, isn't it, for Seattle?
That's the,
Now, obviously, there were thoughts, right, back in the late 60s.
like there were some people who had the idea that it would be a pretty good idea to dump a sufficient amount of LSD in the water right here.
I think a lot
Thereby
of-
turning on the city fathers. Like you know, the whole idea would turn out perfectly. Everybody would be turned on, you know, and then Seattle would be this city of light. Yeah, I don't think that the 60s were in vain, but I think that they were so hyper-idealistic that
Unrealistically idealistic, do you think?
yeah.
So maybe the 70s, rather than being a blah decade, it was a decade of consolidation, taking some of
Yeah,
those
or-
ideas that could work.
Yeah, or sort of going, okay, now this worked, and maybe this was a little bit too high thinking. Maybe this is possible, and maybe this isn't, you know.
Yeah,
But I know that, but I have felt a lot of apathy in the 70s too, really a lot.
yeah.
Just like there's a new generation. I don't feel totally apart from them because we play to them all the time. But they're just a lot more apathetic. They watch a lot more TV.
Really? You think
Oh,
the
yeah.
kids coming out, you really feel that?
Oh, yeah.